everybody, and welcome to Out of Curiosity with Mz.ChiGurl, and I'm your host, Mz.ChiGurl. As you can see today, we have a guest. I had some thoughts that I wanted to talk to you guys about, and so I decided to bring on one of my friends who work in many industries to talk about it. So today we have Angelique. Hi, Angelique. How you
Hi
doing?
there.
Okay. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, so that people know what industry do you work in,
hmm
and we're going to give a disclaimer. We're not giving professional financial advice. This is just us having a conversation, and this is for entertainment purposes only. All right, Angelique, go
Thank
ahead.
you
Tell us a
for the
little bit about yourself.
disclaimer. Thank you for the disclaimer
Okay.
because I was going to start with the disclaimer because I work in compliance. I've been working in compliance for maybe 15 years now. And
Okay.
so we're disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. And as Miss
Mm-hmm.
Shy Girl said, I will not be offering any sort of investment advice or anything like that. This is just strictly general, information about how I handle my finances, what has worked for me, and what I've seen has worked for others, or what has not worked for me or did not work for others. But like I said, I am a compliance professional. I work for a fintech that is based out of Pennsylvania. But I live in Chicago, born and raised, been here all of my life. So I've been in financial services in some capacity since I graduated college, starting as a bank teller on up into my profession now. So I've been raised in the financial world in some capacity.
Right, right. Okay, thank you for your little introduction. And I'll give you guys a little bit more of a little nugget. Angelique and I have known each other since we were 18.
Yes.
We met the first week of college
Yes.
in freshman orientation. So
Yes.
she knows all my little secrets, and so I should keep them over there.
Yes, absolutely. Your secret is safe with me.
Okay. All right, let's get started. So, today's topic I wanted to talk about to follow up on what I talked about in one of my previous videos, random thoughts, and I'm probably going to link it to this video so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Where I was talking about how it seems like reality TV is pushing the narrative, or at least it seems to me, about women not being financially savvy. And an example I gave in my previous video was with Fumi from Bell Collective Birmingham, where she was saying that she didn't know how much her mortgage was, and that her husband handles all of that stuff. Then another example was Kelly from the Real Housewives of Atlanta, where she went to a financial advisor because she's filing bankruptcy because she's going through a divorce, as well as she owns two businesses. Well, now I think it's one. But anyway, she was talking about basically how she didn't know how much she was spending monthly. And then last week, I saw a video about this song by Young Miami called Spin That, and about how these women got caught boosting items from Louis Vuitton as a result. And so I just want to show that video real quick. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to be sharing this material with you guys under the Copyright Act of 1976. You'll see that disclaimer shortly. But this is a YouTube video that I saw, and of course I'll put the link in the description of my video later if you guys want to check it out yourself.
Most prolific organized retail thieves in Western Washington is facing new charges. Janice Downs, a.k.a. Janice Smith, a.k.a. Punchy, is back in jail after just getting released from prison in January. Bellevue police say one of the best clues came from a TikTok video made to Young Miami's viral song Spin That, about boosting and scamming. Bellevue police say this video shows Janice Wiley holding 2 stolen Louis Vuitton purses. It was posted 5 days after detectives say her daughter, Janice Downs, and an unidentified suspect stole the bags worth more than $7,000 from Nordstrom in downtown Seattle. And 2 days after Downs showed the purses on her Instagram account.
For us, she's a prolific, organized career theft criminal, and so we're very familiar with her.
That's because Bellevue PD's special enforcement team busted Downs and her mom 2 years ago for a major organized retail crime spree. They were accused of stealing more than $500,000 worth of Lululemon clothing. Downs pleaded guilty to 6 counts of organized retail theft. She was sentenced to 33 months in prison with 501 days credit for time served and was released in January. Bellevue PD Captain Landon Barnwell says just 4 months later, Downs was back to her old ways.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there because it really, gets lengthy and it's not necessary for our purposes. So let me stop sharing my screen. And so, based on the song lyrics that were playing in the background and me talking about what I've been seeing on reality TV, do you think the media is pushing this narrative that women are not financially savvy and that we don't know anything about how to manage our money, and especially if men are involved?
Right. I'm going to say I see 2 things here.
Okay.
2 things, and in both scenarios that are different. When I think about the reality TV and the narrative about women and not being financially savvy, the reason I feel that we see this and it's starting to surface the lack of financial savvy in some women is because of this new movement of the soft girl life. And part of the soft girl life is to just sit back and be pretty. You sit back, you're pretty, you getting your hair done, your nails done, you're on your man's arm, you're making him look good, and in exchange for that, he's just taking care of you. And so soft girl life is, I'm not worried about bills. I'm not worried about a mortgage. I'm not worried about a car note. I'm not worried about any of that. And when you think back I can just think back, in my childhood and how my mom brought me up to be not as dependent on a man and making sure that I had all of my finances in a row, not to depend on a man. And I want to add a disclaimer there. There's a difference between allowing a man to take care of you or to be the head of the household versus saying I'm an independent woman, I'm this and that. And I do say that there is extremes. I think that these independent women can get to be a little extreme, and then this soft girl life is extreme. We need to meet somewhere in the middle. So that's one thing I see with that reality TV and with that type of money. I'm sure those women were trying to live that soft girl life. And then with Young Miami, it goes a lot deeper with the narrative that's being pushed, and a lot of our Black celebrities, artists, be it actors, influencers, and rappers and singers. The narrative generally that's pushed about our community is that we are criminals. When you listen to rap music, when you listen to the music, we can't go back to our mom's music and even our music, what we came up on, that was mostly about being in love. And so you don't even have that anymore. We're not even talking about love. We're talking about just having sex, sleeping together, getting that money, killing people, calling people out of their name. And so Young Miami is just still kind of fitting that narrative, but it's such a dangerous narrative, as we see, because I think that girl is just a career. I think, honestly, there's something wrong with her. I think, regardless of Young Miami's song, she would have done that, but I would not say that some young girl or some woman listened to that song and was not compelled to go out and do that. I believe it would happen, but that woman, she was just a criminal. I think there's something mentally wrong there, that you get out of jail after, 33 months she was sentenced to, and then you turn right back around and do it. Yeah.
Well, you see, her mother's in on it, so that comes to home training and things to that effect, if you
Yeah,
will, too.
it does. And it could be a sort of addiction because people like that, they get a high from stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
a high from, ooh, if I get caught or I'm not going to get caught. And it ain't even really
Right.
about the merchandise sometimes. It's just about the high of doing it. So I think she is the
Mm-hmm.
problem.
Okay. All right. So there are 2 points that I see that you pointed out. I'm gonna talk about the first point first that you made. You talked about the soft girl era. Are you saying that that's always been around? Because I didn't start hearing this phrase soft girl era until recently, because they were saying that black women are tired of being the strong black woman trope.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were like, we're going to be soft now. We're going to take care of ourselves. We're going to stop stressing. I know when I started hearing it, the 92% that voted against Trump, or let me rephrase, the 92% of black women who voted against Trump, when he still got in office for a second term, that's when I started hearing, you know what, we're going to mind our business and we're going to do what we need to do over here, because now he has stripped this country, allegedly, DEI opportunities that he thought would impact black women, but it's effectively with what I read, it said that DEI initiatives impacted white women or benefited them more than it did the black people at the bottom. It was like a whole little, let's say, upside down pyramid of how it benefited black women. But nonetheless, we still are a part of the 600,000 who were let go and are part of the, I want to say 7.4% of unemployed. That's the employment rate right now. So I'm sorry, I'm getting off on the whole chart. Go back. Soft girl era. So, my question to you, let me clean it up because I said a lot, is are you saying that women have always thought there would be a soft girl era once they get married? Or is that a new thing that's been around because of the whole thing that's going on in the world?
It's a new thing for black women. It's
Okay,
not a new thing for white women.
right.
That has always been the trajectory for white women because the white man has always had opportunities afforded to him where he would be
Mm-hmm.
able to give a woman that sort of life.
Yes.
Unfortunately, black people were not big on generational wealth, whereas
Yes.
white people had more of an advantage there. And so wealth has been passed down and passed down. So even when they a lot of a lot of white kids when they come out of college, they have one up. Some they
Mm-hmm.
come out, they've already got condos and cars waiting on them.
Yes.
And so
Mm-hmm.
they have that advantage. And what has happened is that the black woman is starting to see that and they're
Mm-hmm.
desiring it. And some of that is coming from, wow, we're realizing white men, I mean, that black men are choosing white women and they
Mm-hmm.
always have. And even when
Mm-hmm.
the celebrity black men have chosen other, others outside of us, they give them
Right.
that soft life. But
Yes.
the expectation of us is to be ride or die and to go
Mm-hmm.
through all of this with them. Do I
Okay.
think that a black woman can truly live a soft life? No. I don't think that it's in the cards for us. We have too much stacked up against us, and we're not going to be allowed to live a soft life. I'll tell you this, if you're a single mom, and even if you're dating or whatever, you can't afford to live a soft life, especially if you're raising a young man. You've got to,
Mm-hmm.
it's a sort of kind of toughness got to be in you to raise a man child because you don't have that. And so you've got to
Mm-hmm.
replace that. Society is against us as black women. First of all, the jealousy of black women, of us being the most educated, the ingenuity that we have, how they come after Michelle Obama, the most educated first lady this country has ever had, the classiest. And I think about when she was in office, how she shopped at Target. She was very intentional about the persona that she portrayed. It got her nothing. they still call her out of her name. They still talk about her. So we're not going to have that opportunity to have a true soft life. That's just in my opinion. We're going to be able to go and get our nails done and our hair done and things like that. But when I'm talking about real soft life, what the white woman has had, we're not going to have that. Society and the world is not going to let us have it.
Well, let me ask you this, because I'm actually going to disagree with you to an extent. I think that actually, based on what you said, Black women aren't able to, or maybe for a while we weren't able to do so and have a soft life. But what we've seen is, and this has impacted specifically our generation, which is generational X, is a reversal of roles where Black women are more educated than our Black men. And we've become the breadwinners also in our households.
Mm-hmm.
As a result, when we've gotten to our age group, which is we're in our 50s, our early 50s, we're now able to do for ourselves where we don't need a man.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we are able to have a soft girl life. And I think that an example of that, how I've been laid off since September. I was able to get, a severance package and unemployment. And I've been blessed where I haven't needed to go back to work or anything because I'm in my soft girl era.
And see, so your soft girl era is separate from a man. When I'm looking at
Uh-huh.
soft girl era, I'm looking at the soft girlness being provided by a man. That because this man is doing all of these things, you can lay back and live a soft girl
Hmm.
life. I
Hmm.
agree. We can definitely set ourselves up to live the soft girl life. By
Hmm.
way, when I think about a white woman's trajectory in life, it included
Yes.
the white picket fence, the man, the kids. It included
Hmm.
that. So, in
Yes.
order for us to live this soft girl life, we had to work to get it. Versus
Yes.
a woman who could just lay back and say, I don't work. What is that?" And then they live this life. But I agree with you that not to look for a man to provide
Hmm.
that. But what I see is a lot of what I see on social media and like YouTube and all of that is these women looking for men to provide that life.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think that's where we're going wrong. Because no,
Yes.
we're not going to have that universally. We're not.
Yes.
Whereas a white woman might, I mean, you might have more of that on that side. We're going to have to either, like you said, do it for ourselves, or there's going to be a small few that will get that. And one thing I will say, being totally honest, women that get to live that kind of life have a sort of aesthetic. There's a certain aesthetic they have that will make that man say, "You are worthy for me to allow you to just sit at home." So I know that a man is not going to tell Angelique and say, "You don't have to work. You just sit at home." There's going to be a different expectation of me than a woman that society and men generally would say, "That's my 10." That would make them
Hmm.
lose their mind and do something like that. So you do have to have a sort of aesthetic for that. That I think
Yes.
we as Black women are held to a higher standard than
Yes.
others.
Yes.
Than others. Like our beauty, natural beauty and things like that just isn't enough. Whereas with
Right.
others, oh, you're exotic. You know,
Yes.
you're exotic. Your natural beauty is exotic. Whereas our natural beauty by our Black
Hmm.
men is despised.
Yes. Yes. That's a whole nother topic. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna get into that because I'll go down a whole nother diatribe. And
yeah,
that's not what I wanted to talk about. But yes,
yes,
I agree with you.
yes.
Okay, so what else I wanted to talk about is you talking about generational wealth. And that's something else that our, generation is having to create, I want to say. Because I want to say in the previous generations, they may not have been able to provide the generational wealth that you're talking about.
Yeah.
But some of them to an extent. So another thing that I talked about in my video is that my mother tried to give me that generational wealth, and you're aware of this, is I didn't get any student loans for college.
Right. Right.
And I still had that messed up mindset though that I was using credit cards. And so I came out in debt, even though my mom
Yeah.
paid for me not to have student loans.
Yes.
And so how do we, and now I'm going to get specific to our race and say, as Black and brown people, how do we get out of that generational curse? Because that's
Mhm.
something that, was passed down to us as far as like, now I will say that this is the difference. My mother was really on as far as finances, and she told me not to do the credit cards. But then I also had my daddy in my ear, and my daddy had opposing views, and he was like, "You can put the minimum down. You can this, you can that." And so it sounded better to hear what my daddy said than what my mama said. But that's not my whole point. What I want to talk about is how we have this generational curse mindset.
Mhm.
And an example being when we have children, and they turn 18, we tell them they have to leave the house as opposed to letting them stay with us. I was one of those who was like telling my son, okay, you got to go. I was gone. You got to go, you
Mhm.
know. So that comes from, people used to have three, four, five kids, and they were like, okay, I can't afford to keep paying for y'all. It's time for you to go out and do your own thing. Now I'm seeing more people are allowing their kids to stay with them, and it's because we're trying to give them a leg up so that they can build the savings so that they are able to afford this economy, because this economy is ridiculous. I've seen the information, it showed where our economy is four times more expensive than it was then in the 80s or the 90s.
Mhm.
And so our children are not even able to get out the house if they wanted to.
Mhm.
So, how do we get out of that mindset of those generational curses? Help to set our kids up so that they have, just like the our counterparts in other cultures.
Yeah. I've. Ooh, this is a big one, and
Hmm.
I'd say that our parents' generation and even the generation before tried the best they could. And what
Right.
I saw where they tried to do something was in owning property and owning land and property. So we
Hmm.
can go all the way back, way back, to my mom owning her house, and we had that in our family. And then what happened is the next generation didn't do right. Like the parents
Hmm.
passed on or the grandparents passed on, left property, and all you had to do
Hmm.
was pay taxes or you could sell it or whatever. And the heirs lost it instead of passing it down.
Yes.
So when when you're trying to leave something behind, talk to the heirs. So and kind of educate them and make sure they are educated. So that's one thing you want to do. um I would say another place where we went wrong, life insurance, and we're just now starting to get life insurance, and we still, I know I have some acquaintances that try to get life insurance on their parents, and the parents have this stigma of life insurance and literally told their child, you're not going to benefit off my death, you're dead. I'm sorry. So why
Right.
would you care? I've heard that twice in two instances. One was a parent, the other was a brother who eventually passed away, and the family had to pass a hat to bury them. And so the one parent is still alive. But my attitude is, if you could become a millionaire after I die,
Yes.
I'm happy about it. But that generation, it was as if they thought if you got life insurance on them, you were going to kill them to collect the money or something. It was
Right.
crazy.
Right.
But I think we're starting to break that stigma, because I think I'm sure that ended with our parents' generation. And any opportunity we have, think about on your job. On the job, there are certain opportunities we have in order to pass things on and start building wealth. One thing for me was the supplemental life insurance. You know, your job gives you this
Mm-hmm.
one times your salary or whatever, but then they offer supplemental life insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got that for both of my nephews. And I said, if something happens to me, and it can go for college, it can go for whatever. And so once they
Right.
became of age, because they're grown now, I said,
Right.
it's only like $5 out of my paycheck. I'm just going to keep it. So if something
Right.
happens to me, my nephews is going to have a nice little windfall of something that's going to help push them. We talk
Right.
to them all the time about like their mom owns properties, not just the house they live
Mm-hmm.
in, they own another property. And then you've got the grandparents' house that's going to be passed down. We're constantly talking to them, having the
Yes.
conversations, getting comfortable about those conversations, and the stigma around death, I think, is why people don't like to have these conversations. When you can have that type, you can have some sort of wealth in life, but I'm telling you, a lot of the generational wealth that was built outside of the Black community came through death.
Yes. Yes.
Came through death.
I agree with you. And it's funny that you say that because, so we're going to go back to my grandmother. So my grandmother in her family, she was the most, let's say, financially savvy. And this is somebody who only had a seventh grade education. She believed in getting life insurance policies. And matter of fact, she did that for her family because she said she was tired of nobody having money and passing the hat, like you mentioned. And so she taught my mom, who bought my life insurance policy when I was a little girl. And my mother taught me the same thing for my child. And I bought it for him. And matter of fact, he has two. The problem I have is that my child doesn't want no kids, so I don't have no generational wealth because I ain't got no siblings, you know,
Yeah.
and he doesn't have any siblings. And so I was like, what am I setting up generational wealth for if you ain't even trying to have kids? But that's another story.
It could change. That could change. That could change.
You know what? Honestly, I think he made the right decision about not wanting kids because I've seen him with his younger cousins, and I'm like, what? What's wrong with you? He doesn't have a paternal instinct at all.
Okay.
I'm just gonna tell you. Anyway, and so yes, I'm glad you brought up that point about insurance. That definitely setting up insurance for your children or your family at a young age is important because when you get older, it's hard to do so. So, like my mother did it for me when I was a child, and so like I'm thinking, oh, I'm set. Well, no, the way the economy has changed, like I said, is so expensive that any money that my son would receive would all go towards my burial. That's because my mom, because I was a child, she didn't want to make money off of her child, dying. So she got the smallest amount. And so now that I'm older, like you, I had it through my job and everything, but now I'm in the position where I no longer have a job. So the insurance I had through my job is gone. The supplemental insurance from my job is gone. And so, like, I tried to get life insurance now. I tried to get life insurance twice. I tried to do it now because I keep seeing those things for 50 and above, apply for life insurance. Now, the difference is for me is I've been trying to get whole life because that's what my family taught me. They told me to get whole life insurance as opposed to term life. I can't tell you the difference. Do your research.
Mm-hmm.
But um, if I try to get whole life insurance, I can't even get it because I have pre-existing conditions. And so that's why it's best to get, and this is just me giving advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just telling you what my family taught me. Do it at a younger age before those pre-existing conditions
Yep.
play a factor because you're not going to be able to get it.
Yes.
Also, it's going to be more expensive. Like, I got my insurance policy for my son um, when he was a baby. I only pay $30 a month, just $30.
Yeah.
And If I pay it for the year, what is that, 360 for the year? That's it.
Yeah.
If he were to get it now because he's a black man, do you know how expensive that would be?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so, do you have any like advice you want to impart to any of our viewers? Like I said, this is all for entertainment purposes. This is
Yes.
stuff that we're trying to pass on to you guys.
Exactly. One thing I regret is not investing in a 401k earlier. When you're younger, you have this I'm going to live forever mentality. And you're going to say, there's time. And I wish as soon as I had entered the job market and that became
Hmm.
available to me, I started investing in 401k. I lost about a good 10 years not investing
Hmm.
in a 401k, and I should have been doing it. And so I passed that on to my nephews. When they got their jobs, I said, "You got 401k?" I said, "As
Yes.
soon as you're eligible to invest in it, invest in it."
Yes.
Um, Another thing, getting to the credit cards. One thing that was set against us in college is that the laws were a little different. That
Yes.
they would even just, and this
They
is,
were
for
targeting
people
us.
who didn't know this, I would come
Yes.
home on breaks and credit cards would be there waiting on me that I didn't even apply for. I know that happened with
Hmm.
Target. I just came home and
Hmm.
I had a Marshall Fields Target credit card once, and I said I didn't apply for this. But then on campus, they had the table set up there, and they were giving T-shirts. And I'm such a greedy person. If it was candy bars, I was going for the candy bars,
Right.
and I ended up with these
We were
cards.
selling our soul for candy bars.
Yes, yes. And so I too, I did not have good financial savvy that was input in me. I was encouraged to get these cards. I was.
Hmm.
And but when I got out of school and
Hmm.
I had to pay that stuff down, and I went through a lot, I told myself I would never let myself get back in that situation. We have to educate ourselves. Even if you
Hmm.
don't have that, if you don't have that financially savvy parent or guardian or whoever it is, get
Right.
out and try to find that information the best way you can. And one advantage you all have now is things like this YouTube. We didn't have this. We didn't have this where I can go
Exactly.
on YouTube. Take
Exactly.
advantage of the good information that is out there. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, so I said that, and I already talked about the insurance. We've got to get out of that mentality as Black people when it
Yes.
comes to insurance.
Yes. Yes.
Talk to, if you're leaving anything to anybody, talk to them about it. Also, make sure when it's whatever you're setting up and whatever you're trying to do, you do not leave your heirs in a position where they're struggling. For example,
Yes.
you die and your intent, you have a will. I
Hmm.
want my baby to get my house. Do you have a
Hmm.
land trust?
Hmm.
What is the position? Your child now might spend years in probate court because a will does not matter
Right.
in that issue. And I've heard stories from people who are still years later trying to fight to get their childhood home and things like that. So make sure you talk to a financial advisor or an attorney. Don't try to do these things on your own, and just think about when you leave here, you want to leave them well. I will say that my mom she's just starting to look into that now, and what she says to me is, I don't want you to have to think about much of anything. And she talked to an attorney and he said this is the best thing for you to do because your daughter would be going through hoops. Eventually she probably would get the building, but the all
Right.
the money and the expense she would spend in probate court would be ridiculous. So sit down,
Right.
talk to your heirs, and actually talk to a financial advisor and attorneys, and don't try to do things on your own. Get that
Right.
expertise.
And it's funny that you're bringing up so many points that now I want to talk to. I have been trying to do a trust, I want to say, for the past 5 years, and I've talked to about three lawyers, and I can't get one set up. So let me speak to what they're telling me, and also tell you about the home thing that you brought up. So the first time I brought it up with my attorney when I did my will, like you said. when 2020 hit and the pandemic and everything, that made me start reassessing my life. And I was like, I need to get my affairs in order. Not that I was sick, not that I was that old, I was kind of middle aged at that time, but I was like, you know, life is not promised to us. And like you said, anything could take us out.
Mhm.
And so my attorney told me that instead of doing a living trust, because I had a property, he told me to do a toady. A toady is a transfer on death instrument. And so that is what I've done. So what happens is my home will go to my son after I passed away. The problem is, and that this is what I was trying to avoid, but I didn't have the knowledge. I'm only just now finding out this information, is that my son will not have to worry about probate court because the home will go to him. And so he won't have any issues with that. The problem he's going to have is taxes. If
Mm.
my home appreciates a great deal, I can't give you a specific number, but if it's appreciates a lot, he will have to pay taxes on the amount that I paid for it and its current value.
Wow.
That's where he's going to have the problem. Yes. And so that's why it's important to have a trust because you won't have to worry about that. He won't have to worry about the taxes
Nope.
on what the value is on the home now and what it was when I purchased it.
Yep.
So I'm still trying to fight to get that done. But I'm going to tell you what happened because I just spoke to a lawyer 2 weeks ago. Because, like I said, I've talked to three attorneys about trying to set up a trust. And the biggest thing that I hear is that I don't really have any assets. I have my home, but um, the last attorney broke it down to me better than any of the other ones. And so that's why I think it's important to find the best attorney that you can relate to and that can explain to you. Keep asking the questions, keep pushing.
Mhm.
Because you see, it took me 3 attorneys in 5 years to even get some of the answers that I'm about to impart on you. The reason why she told me, as you guys know, I'm in Chicago, which means the state is Illinois. In Illinois, there's a small estate affidavit. The small estate affidavit in Illinois is 150,000 is what she told me. And so she said that if your home or your properties are less than 150,000, then you don't need a living trust.
Mm.
And so that's what I was looking at. She said that that's why she wouldn't recommend it because she said you're going to have to pay thousands of fees to maintain that trust. And if you're not over that 150,000, it's not going to behoove you to do so. Well, this is the problem that I have is that now I have to assess, is it worth it? Because we may be at the cusp. And when I say we, I'm saying my family. We may be at the cusp where we might be a little bit over that 150,000.
Mhm.
But are we going to have it if we're paying those thousands of dollars in
Right.
fees? And so one thing that
What sort of fees did they
I
tell you?
guess she said something to this extent. Let me see if I can find the paper. I didn't plan on talking about that, but let me see if I can
Yeah,
find it real
I
quick.
know that there is a fee that you pay the
Trustee.
trust. There is a fee
Yes.
that you pay the trust, and then there's another fee. And those fees are less than $200 each. So 200,
Really?
200. This is what, and I just looked at some of my mom's paperwork. I'm gonna go look at it a little deeper, but she showed me the
Okay.
letter from the attorney.
Uh-huh.
Definitely we're over that 150. The value of our
Mm-hmm.
is definitely over that. But
Right.
I because when she told me the amount that he was charging her to even do this trust stuff, I was like,
Yes.
that's because I'd heard that it was going to be thousands of dollars to do a
Uh-huh.
trust. And she was like, no,
Uh-huh.
that's what I'm like, you getting a senior discount or something? Like, what is this? And when I read the
You're going
letter, it
when
did
we
say,
get offline, you're gonna have to talk to me.
okay, yeah,
I'm
two,
saying.
it had two fees there. So I'm going to read through her paperwork to make sure there aren't more fees that, she may not, remember or whatever. But I know there
Right,
are two.
right.
You pay that land trust. You have to pay. annually. I think that's $147 or $197, and then there's another one that's like $100 something you pay annually.
Hmm.
I think, or is it monthly? Let me check. Let me check.
Okay.
And I'll let you know. But
All
yeah,
right, I'm going to share my screen and actually show you the email because she gave me so much information. I said I can't write all this down, so she put it in an email for me, and you're going to be able to see it, Angelique. But for our readers, I'm going to block out her information because I do not have the authority to share this information with everybody. This was sent to me personally, and for my purposes. But she did give me some information, and can you see my screen?
yep.
Okay, so because right now I'm unemployed, I can contact certain organizations to ask questions because I don't have any income coming in. So right
Hmm.
now I'm at an advantage where maybe I could take advantage of, getting legal aid assistance.
Yep.
So one thing you can see is that she gave me the number to Legal Aid Chicago, and she said this is the number for probate and estate questions. So I need to actually look into this and follow up to get more information. But this is what she gave me an example of how capital gains taxes work. She
Yeah.
said, I buy a property for 100,000 and sell it for 200,000. I have to pay taxes on the $100,000 difference. 100,000 is yeah, is my basis,
Right.
what I paid in. Now, if mom buys the property at 100,000 but adds me to the title, I have her $100,000 basis, and when I sell, I pay those taxes. Alternatively, if mom leaves it to me when she dies, the property is worth 175, I get the 175. So when I sell for 200,000, I'm only paying taxes on 25,000.
Okay.
Maybe I may not pay any taxes on the sale of the property if it's my primary residence for a certain number of years or other fact patterns that avoid or lessen capital gains tax. So that's what she told me as far as that's concerned.
Yeah.
The Go ahead.
No,
What were you gonna
my
say?
mom did get advice not to add me to the building before she passes, because at first she was going to
Okay.
do that, like kind of
Right.
turn it over to me now, and then they said no.
Mm-hmm.
No, do not do that, and I believe that's that
Right.
first scenario. So yeah,
Right.
so with the TOD though, which one of these scenarios are you, the second scenario with the TOD, or this doesn't fit you at all?
No, it does fit me. So that's what I'm saying. Where Chris would have to pay that $100,000 if the
Yeah.
property I buy, and so that's why I was trying to get a trust.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the attorney who set me up, who did my will, he didn't even explain to me about these taxes. And I actually found out through research about it, which is why I keep pushing and going to different attorneys, trying to get questions about why won't anybody set me up for a trust. She also recommended that I contact CARPLS Legal Aid Hotline for Medicaid Clawbacks, capital gains questions. So I want to talk about this, and this is something I'm dealing with, and hopefully, like you said, you guys are doing this in advance of anything happening with your parents. My mother having Alzheimer's,
Hmm.
because we have not set up a trust. If she becomes so ill that I need to put her in a nursing home, they can claim all of her money, all her properties, and things
They
to that
will.
effect.
Yes.
And that actually happened to my grandparents. So it's funny that you speak about the property like you did before. What happened with my grandparents is my grandmother had Alzheimer's, my grandfather had Parkinson's. So they both were going in a nursing home. They owned the home. None of the children wanted the home. I know my mother said she didn't want to because she said it was going to be a headache. And I was upset that she didn't want it because I was like you. I'm like, I remember always going to grandma's house and it was my favorite place and memories and things to that effect. And so my grandparents actually wanted to give me the home. But guess when they wanted to give it to me? When I was 19 in the college.
Oh.
And so
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what to do. So my mother advises me, don't take the home because you're away at school and I'm not going to manage the home for you. I am so mad because I really love that home. I really wish that I had the knowledge and wherewithal to be able to say, no, I want the home, take it, give it to me, and all that other stuff. But anyway, my point in bringing this up is the state put a lien against my grandparents' home so that they could go into a nursing home. And the home, the lien against the home, like we could have bought the home back if we wanted to, but the amount of money that the state put against the home is more than the value of the home now.
Wow.
So yeah,
And if it was in
so we
trust, the state would not have been able to do that.
exactly, exactly. And so for my mom, now that she actually has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, she would have to live a very long time for them not to take her money. If I were to put her in a home, is my point. And so, I because it's my understanding, Medicaid, they go back just like, an IRS audit. And they go through and track money. Right now, I'm considered not to have any assets right now except for my home.
Okay.
We can't touch my 401k and my pension because that's supposed to be for my retirement and things to that effect. So that's why, that's not included. But I still would like to put all of that in the trust. And so that's why I'm all about advocating for myself. I've told the viewers before how I had to advocate for myself medically, and now I'm trying to advocate for myself as far as financial literacy.
Hmm.
And so I guess I want to say that for everybody, you have to want this. You have to think about what your future is going to be. Where do you see yourself? I mean, like they asked us this in high school. I don't know if they still do that now. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? And that was a very difficult question for me to ask myself when I was in high school. But like you, I have been there for my son, giving him the financial knowledge and everything as far as I want you to think about this because this is what I'm going through. And this part I wish my mother would have told me, because this is what you need to think about as far as in the future. If you want to have a soft girl era, you
Hmm.
know, and if you're on your own, single, I'm having to create my own soft girl era.
Hmm.
Can you speak as far as the marriage thing? Like, what do you do to try and make sure that you guys are set when it's time to
Yes.
go into retirement and things like that?
Let me say this first. Make sure you marry somebody that's on the same page as you when it comes
Yes,
to financial literacy or pursuing it.
yes.
That's number one. Because if you're not on the same page there, it is absolutely not going to happen. The
Mhm,
second thing is, as a black couple, in my
mhm,
case, I was not afforded the opportunity to even think about a soft girl life at that point.
mhm,
There was such an imbalance there as far as
mhm.
who was bringing what home, but I was willing to make
Right,
it work. And
right.
one thing that is happening in our kind of in our generation, but definitely the generations after, where marriage is
Mhm,
viewed as an inconvenience, something that you
mhm,
don't need to do. Why get
mhm,
married? There is such a benefit to marriage, especially when you marry. I'm not going to say too young. Live your life and then get married, and you have the opportunity to build a wealth stream
mhm,
that you cannot do as one person. So
mhm,
look at marriage. Love is, yeah, the love's got to be there, but it is definitely a
mhm,
partnership, and you've got to be both pursuing the same thing financially, and that way
mhm.
one isn't holding the other back. But marriage to me
Right.
is such a great thing. um Not just the companionship, but in that you can do so much more with two salaries than one. And so you
Right.
may not be living a full soft girl life then, but I
Mhm.
guarantee you your struggles won't be as bad when you have a mate there that's sharing in those responsibilities.
What are your thoughts on prenups?
I'm for prenup. This is me.
Okay.
I am team. prenup, and I don't care how much money you have. I don't
Right.
think prenups should just be reserved for millionaires and billionaires.
Exactly.
Um, and I'm probably gonna maybe catch a little heat here, but what I'm starting to notice, and we're talking about
Mhm.
soft girl life for women, seems like
Mhm.
a lot of men want to live a soft life too.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and so as black women who are educated, who are making a nice amount of money, who's working to
Mhm.
build wealth in some shape or form, even if that building wealth is when you retire, you're comfortable. You may not
Mhm.
have
Mhm.
kids, but you're living
Right.
and striving so that when you retire, I can maybe retire early or I'm not
Yes.
struggling at all. So you're
Yes.
building this. And then you've got these men, unfortunately, who want to live a soft life. And so they are looking for women. As there's this saying, and my a guy friend of mine, when I told him this because he had never heard it, was laughing. Some of them are looking for a nurse and a purse. They
Yep.
are. So you have to
Yes.
protect that. And people can have the best of intentions going into
Yes.
a relationship. Things shift,
Yes.
things change. The next thing you know, you're in court and this man is trying to take your retirement that you've built.
Yes. Yes.
No. I'll say this. That was one of the driving factors to me strongly pursuing my divorce
Mhm.
because we were separated like a year and a half. And
Mhm.
I decided to start a business, like to seriously just start a business. And then I
Right.
knew on my job, he was automatically like my beneficiary.
Right.
And I said, if something happened to me, my money is going to
Right.
him. And I said,
Right.
no. I said, let me go ahead and get my business straight. That's another thing in
Yep.
our culture. We will be technically divorced, but not on paper. And things
Yes. Yes.
happen after you pass
Right.
away. I've heard so many stories. But yeah.
Yes.
Um
I just want to add to that real quick. That you do not want to stay married to somebody that you are no longer with, even though you are legally married. Because when you hit that 10-year mark,
that's it.
they will get your social security if you die first. They're entitled to your retirement money. There are so many things they're gonna get as a benefit of you.
Yeah.
Why should they benefit from you if you guys aren't together? And especially if you have children. It's not going to your children, it's going to them. Why? You
Yeah.
know?
My mom would
So
tell me stories of
yes,
this was back in the day stuff because again, black people didn't get divorced on paper. They were
yes,
separated and even go live with other men and other women. And in this
right.
scenario, the man left his wife. But when he left her, he told her, you will always be taken care of. And he went and lived with another woman. That woman fed him, washed his clothes, took care of him while he was sick. And when that man passed away, everything went to the wife. And she was left with
Hmm.
nothing. And then my mom,
Yes.
so many stories I've heard. So we've got to
I
women.
think James Brown, not James Brown, what was his name? The big guy. You know, ecstasy and sweetness is my weakness. What's his
Oh,
name?
um,
Not
oh,
Barry Gordy. What is his
Barry
name?
White.
Barry Wood. That's
Barry White.
it. Yes,
Yes.
that happened. He
Yeah.
actually was still married to his first wife, got him a second wife. She was there, took care of him when he died, and that money went to the first wife.
There is no honor in being the other woman or the side
Yes,
chick without any sort of benefit. That's why
yes,
there's benefit in marriage. That's I mean that's
yes,
one of the benefits. But it back in the day, what we just described, and think about how old Barry White was. That
right,
happened all the time. I told my mom, "Are you serious?" I said,
yes,
she's like, "Yeah." But he told his wife when he left her,
yeah,
you will always be taken care of. She even had got
right,
her another man. And
yeah,
still,
yeah,
she got all of the money, and the woman who took care of him on up to his death, nothing. Absolutely
exactly.
nothing.
And that's another reason why I'm pro prenup is because we're talking about poor situations as far as we know. But even look at the celebrity women, like you're talking about um, men wanting a soft girl era. It's true. It's a reversal of roles, and we can see this in our celebrities. Mary J. Blige,
Oh,
her husband cheated on her, used the money to pay for his lifestyle. And what really got me is that he didn't have any children with her and wanted her to continue paying child support because he wasn't paying it. She was paying it during the marriage
yeah,
and took care of his parents. And he wanted that to continue after they were divorced. I was like, the gall.
the audacity.
You ain't worked for that money. Mary worked for that money.
And you know who was celebrating that? Black men.
Oh,
Black men.
yes,
Black men was
that's
celebrating
their
it.
idols.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, they
I
celebrate.
know it's another black celebrity woman who had this happen to, and I can't think of who it was. But there are a couple examples. Now, Candy, I'm gonna have to reach out to Candy Burris myself because she did it right, and she got that prenup to stick. And that was the funny thing is that Candy is the only one that I've heard of whose prenup stuck.
Yeah.
Everybody else, because they said Mary did have a prenup, and that for whatever reason they found a loophole, and he was able to get more.
Wow. I
Yes,
didn't know
Mary
that
actually
there
had
was
a.
a prenup there. I did not
Yes,
know
there
that.
was.
But even for him to get all that he got, it's just,
Yes,
even if you find a little loophole in there, but that was almost, why did she even get it?
yes, yes. I'm telling you. That's what I'm saying. We need to talk to Candy Burst.
I can't remember
Have
the
her do a
celebrity.
TED talk.
I can't remember the celebrity also, but she was divorced from her husband. He got like $1 million or something like that after the divorce. Then he got a cut of her royalties or whatever from
Ah, I know
whatever
who you're
book.
talking about. Journey Smollett. Is
Okay,
that
yeah.
who you're talking about?
Yeah, he
Yes.
came
So
back and wants the
that
stuff from when she was a kid.
a child. Yes.
Get up and
Yes.
work for yourself. Why get up and make your
Mhm.
own money? And you already got
Yes.
millions off of her. And so you just, I'm going to just take this knife and really stick it to him. And I'm not
Yes.
going to say that men have been caught a bad rap either with some of this
Right.
stuff. But
Right.
I'm going to tell you this. Most of these men married for looks, superficial things.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
about Mary J. Blige more than likely, and
Yes.
all that. I guarantee you, they love those men. They didn't just marry them because,
Yes.
oh, it's aesthetics. Some of these men are getting what they deserve because you didn't choose
Exactly. Like.
character and things like that.
Yep. Yep.
So
Well, I was gonna say, Mary even said in her song she credited that man with saving her, getting her off of drugs, and building up her self-esteem because she was like, he was like, "Why should I love you if you don't love yourself?" And she was like, she stopped drinking and stopped doing the drugs and all that stuff because he was like, oh look, I see your baby,
are you seeing that?
that sugar. Yeah.
She just had to get in the shot, and I saw her moving around back there. Look at you making your debut.
I know, right? Anyway, and so Mary definitely loved that man. She gave him too much credit. That was too much credit for him, especially on how it ended. But anyway,
That's why it's a
so
little
just
different. And most of the time, too, the men are the cheaters. I'm not gonna say that
yeah,
women don't cheat, but let's look at
true.
statistically. And so
Yes,
in Mary's case, she loved this man. She was there for him, ride or
yes,
die with him, faithful to him. He cheats on her to
yes,
get the money. Now, in
yes.
the reverse is, why should she have to pay for that?
Hmm.
Why should she pay?
Exactly. I know. Halle Berry, she's had that happen a few
Oh,
times.
yeah. Yeah,
Well, maybe it
I
was
think a couple of
one or two.
got a raw deal.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And there was another person I can't think of either, but yeah, it's happened a lot in those type of situations, and it's horrible. So I'm gonna wrap this up because we're going long. So, do you have any final thoughts for our viewers out there?
Mm. Your position financially matters. It isn't something to take lightly. It isn't something to put off till tomorrow either. As soon as you are of age, and even some parents set kids up before, but as
Right.
soon as you are of age and you can take advantage of that, break any sort of generational curses on your family surrounding finances, and go out there and get that information. It's not going to fall into your lap. And you've got so many avenues and platforms, free platforms,
Right.
to get that information. So it matters. It matters. Don't expect things to come to you. Go out there
Yes.
and get it, and find that information. And be smart
Yes.
about the things that you do. And don't try to do everything on your own. You need some
Yes.
professional advice. Don't try to go
Yes.
on your own. Get professional advice to make sure you're doing things right. Just heard what happened to these women that had what they thought were ironclad prenups,
Exactly.
and it wasn't. So making sure,
Right.
and in that, I would say it's okay to get second, third, fourth opinions, not just
Yes.
what
You
you
see
know.
what I'm doing?
Yeah,
You see what I'm doing? I told you I've spoken to 3 lawyers, and it took this last one to really give me the details that I needed, and then to give me referrals,
yeah,
to try and get
yes.
more info.
Don't take everything at face value. This ain't even just financial. I'm especially health too. Get more than one opinion. If you hear something,
Yes.
check it. Check it against other
Yes.
sources.
Yes. Yes. And so my final thoughts are: it's not too late to start making changes to improve your circumstances. One thing I will say that I did see on the Real Housewives of Atlanta that I think is important is that there are 2 women on there who are filing for bankruptcy. Um, if you are in a financial struggle, you don't have to be. I'm going to attest myself that, bankruptcy can help you eventually get where you need to be.
Yes.
I'm not saying just do it, because I did see people who just do it arbitrarily. I don't want to pay no credit card, so I'm just going to file bankruptcy. There are certain times in your life where you're struggling, and bankruptcy is there and can help relieve that stress. You can start over. Think about where you want to be when you're done with the bankruptcy.
Yes.
Because I've done two. There are 2 kinds that are popular, which are the Chapter 7 and the Chapter 11. I did both. The Chapter 7 I did because I actually got rid of my home. This was after the housing market crash, and my home was broken into. I wasn't going to stay there no more. So
Mhm.
I tried to sell my home, and I couldn't do it. And then also my home was reversed as far as, because of the housing market, my mortgage was more than the value. It was no longer valued at the mortgage. Yeah. And so I got rid of that bad boy because I was like, I'm not going to continue to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars on a home that's not even worth that much anymore.
Right.
And then I did it again, and I did a what's it called? A
Reorg
restructure with a,
structure.
yeah, reorganization. Thank you, with a Chapter 11. And I said, okay, by the time I'm done with this, I will be close to 50. And I said, that's a good age. I can start doing this, that, da, da, da. Now my credit is in good standing. I have a savings, which I talked about. I am able to do the things that I want to do now that I'm at this age. And so it's not too late. Impart your knowledge to your next generation. You have children, if you have nieces and nephews,
Yes.
teach them, you know, what we didn't know and where we made our mistakes so that we can have that generational
Absolutely.
wealth going into our family. Start with, insurance policies. That's a good way to start, especially when they're young. Start investing in those. Like Angelique mentioned, the 401ks. If you have a company that's matching funds with your 401k, that is free money towards your retirement. Because the difference between us and the previous generation, which was the baby boomers, they had employers who offered them pensions,
Yes.
and they were able, to live off of that when they got older. Our generation, Gen X, they got rid of those pensions. Some of us still have them, some of us don't. But we're going to be the first generation that has to solely depend on our 401ks if we
Yep.
don't have that pension.
Yep.
And 401k is not enough. And they're talking about how much trouble there is with Social Security.
Yep.
So start making those choices now to what you want your retirement life to look like, or your older life, or your soft life, or whatever you want to
Yeah,
call it.
that's been big on my mind. What is
I know.
retirement going to look like for me?
Exactly. What
Yeah.
is retirement going to look like? I like that. Well, thank you, Angelique, for taking the time to meet with me and the viewers. I hope that, you may want to come back and we can talk about another
Absolutely.
topic.
Sure.
And we didn't delve too much in your industry, so you didn't have to really give too
No,
much,
no, no, no. I was careful. I was careful.
Right. Right, right. Again, we were having a conversation. This is not financial advice, technically. This is for entertainment purposes, people. So, thank you for joining us, and I hope you'll come back. Thank you.